Doors being closed. Hi, welcome. Thank you for coming. Slight disclaimer first. This is kind of a, if you've done anything with ARCore before, this is probably not the talk for you because I'm just going to be very basic stuff because most people haven't ever heard of it, even let alone played with it. Just so you know kind of where we're at in terms of level. So my name is Lars and I am from this wonderful land down under, as you could probably tell. I'm from the bit that says giant spiders. Oh, it's pretty accurate. Has anyone been to Australia before? It's like 2 people. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. So the rest of you just believe this. Yay. But no, my backyard is I live in the country, and this is a picture of my backyard. But it's not like we don't want tourists in Australia, okay? We do want people to come visit, which is why we've created several campaigns to try and inform people of the various things that can happen. So, has anyone ever seen a drop bear, by the way? That's right, because you would be lying because you'd be dead. Anyway, so a bit of trivia about Australia that you might not know is that we have actually got ski resorts. So this is about 90 minutes from where I live, and this is what it will look like in about 6 weeks. And most people don't know that. So already you got value. Yes, you can go skiing in Australia. Did anyone know that? No? Exactly. All right, thanks for coming. Bye. But no, if you've got questions, by the way, throughout the talk, please just yell out. I'm more than happy to have a discussion around whatever we're talking about. It's not a one-way street of communication. So by all means, do put your hand up, yell out, whatever it might be. No problem at all. If I don't know, I'll say I don't know. If I don't like the question, I'll just ignore it, and we'll go from there. So I thought, first off, because we're talking about augmented reality, has anyone played at all with augmented reality or done anything with it? Oh, a few people. Okay, that's cool. Actually, about 5 or 6. I thought we'd play a little game first that I call AR or VR. Okay, so it's up to you. You have to guess whether it's AR or VR. That sound simple enough? Does anyone know everybody knows what AR and VR are, as in augmented and virtual reality, right? That's what we're talking about. So obviously that's not a good idea. Don't do that, please. It's when you search around for photos for these presentations, sometimes you just get gold, right? I don't know why that was there. So, okay, so the first one is called The Climb. Has anyone tried this? There's one, okay, this is really cool. But is this augmented or virtual reality? Virtual, yeah, we agree on that, okay? So we remove the real world and we put a virtual world instead. And we look through goggles like the lady had before, right? So this is The Climb. It's a virtual reality app that you can, if you have an Oculus or a HTC Vive or whatever it might be, you can probably download it or buy it. Okay, this thing called Ghostbusters World. It's not actually out yet, but I thought it was so cool that I used it anyway. It says AR or VR. Why is it AR? You can see the real world. So was that someone said, yeah. Not only can you see the real world, it interacts with the real world, right? You're augmenting the reality that you're looking at. And it looks amazing. Is it actually what, sorry? Oh, the car's there. So obviously this game is being developed right now. And these are gifts that the producer of the game put out. So I'm sure they put the real car in the background as well, which makes it even cooler. But if you had it, I'm sure you could use it as well. No? You can get a Lego model of it. Okay, Pokemon Go, AR or VR? Does anyone think it's VR? Right. It's actually neither. It has nothing to do with augmented reality. And this is a bit of a trick question, I know. But because we're going to be talking a lot about augmentation reality, I want to make absolutely clear that this has nothing to do with augmented reality. This game is really good mapping application. It works really well with Google Maps or whatever mapping provider there is. But it doesn't augment anything in reality. It just puts the camera feed behind whatever it is you're doing. If you move the thing around, the monster's not going to go out of screen or anything like that. So it has nothing to do with augmented reality. Anyone want to disagree with that? No. All right. So before we get into all of the modern goodness, I just want to give you a brief overview of where we've kind of come from because I find it really interesting. Has anyone ever seen this before? That's one hand. Really? Oh. Saw it in class or something. Okay, but you recognize the image. I have to look at it. It's called the Sword of Damocles, or Damocles, depending on how you want to pronounce it, which is a Greek myth. And this was the first head-mounted augmented reality device in 1968. It's really long time ago in computing terms. And I mean, it was obviously with a huge rig on it to try and figure out what it was doing, but it showed some coordinate grids in front of you when you were looking through it. And it was augmenting the reality because it was, as you were moving your head, the grid would move in relation to that. Very cool. I didn't actually know that existed until about 6 months ago. So we started with that in 1968. We had the Sword of Damocles, made by Ian Sutherland up at MIT. Then in 1964, there was something called the Video Place, which was more of an event area that you would go to. So someone had made like an arcade, but with augmented reality, and you would go to this called Video Place. Very cool, very, very rudimentary for what we understand today, but it was quite a big step in terms of getting immersion and getting people to invest their mental capacity, I guess, into the experience. 92, virtual fixtures. This is probably what's known mostly like the actual beginning of augmented reality. It was essentially a piece of scaffolding that you were wearing, and then you had some goggles you were looking through, and it would project some kind of robot hands directly over your hands, and they would move as you moved your hands. It was very, very cool, but huge thing. They probably used it for something like military use, dismantling bombs, stuff like that, so you could not be on the spot, but you could control a thing. But that was in 92. 2014, Google Glass. Did anyone ever have a Google Glass? No? Okay. They weren't, like lots of people know about them, but not many people actually had them. They were kind of interesting in that they were, again, head-mounted, so you had your hands free, but they also integrated with your phone and with the whole Google platform and Android and everything. For multiple reasons, I would imagine they no longer exist. But they were kind of a first foray into modern AR as we know it. And then, of course, my favorite, the HoloLens. I've talked a lot about HoloLens. Came in 2016. Has anyone tried the HoloLens? Yeah, there's usually a few people, 3 or 4 people. Okay. If you haven't, if you get a chance to try one, I didn't bring mine, unfortunately, because of luggage and other stuff. Do it. It's very hard to explain, but essentially, HoloLens is a head-mounted device that will map the room, and you can place digital assets in relation to your physical space. So the digital assets can interact with the physical space. It's very, very cool. It's very convincing, and it works very, very well. So do that if you get a chance. Okay. Just because I would imagine that someone here would have to go back and say, oh, I learned about ARCore, and they go, okay, why? What can we use it for? If you do have to convince a manager or a business person, there's some really good stats on how huge this can get and is projected to be. So in 2018, which is this year, it's looking, they're saying the market size in billion US dollars is about 18, and next year it's going to be 140 billion, like massive, massive increase. I'm not sure I completely believe that, but it is going to skyrocket. Right? There's huge market in this, and I'll show you why this is such a big deal. Okay, where are people spending the money? Consumer stuff, mainly because that's kind of where it starts. People get it on their phone and they're like, oh, this is cool. And they start talking about it and it kind of grows from there. But there's also others. It's very helpful. I don't know what others are. But a lot of the space I've been doing, especially with HoloLens, has been around engineering and manufacturing, which seems to have a real interest in this because they spend so much money on production equipment. Yes? How much influence will the fact that you can get it on iOS and Android? Oh, right. Massive. Yeah, that's a huge leap forward. No, the reason no one here has really tried HoloLens is because it is $3,000 to buy one, and there aren't that many around, but everybody has a phone, right? And you might not have a phone right now that supports it, but you probably will in 2 or 3 years, depending on how much money you're willing to pay for a phone right now. But yeah, definitely have huge impact on it. Okay, so because we're talking about Android, right? It's ARCore. I'm not going to be talking about ARKit, which is for iOS today. But just have a guess. How many Android devices are there in the world today? Anyone with, wild guess? Not everybody at once, please. 8 billion, yes. Anyone else? 2 is correct. There are 2 billion Android devices today, which is a lot. Now, not all of them are going to be able to support what I'll show you, but over time, there'll be obviously a larger and larger percentage of them. But it is still a reasonably large percentage because this is, I mean, I updated this last week, and because of the speed it's moving, it might not be accurate now, but there are a lot of devices already that are supporting ARCore. They are mainly the Google and the Samsung devices because it needs to be relatively high-end. And I don't understand all the nitty-gritty implementation details, but obviously Android is so open to interpretation how you want to build your devices, so I'm sure there's some challenges in that. Okay, so let's have a look. That was me babbling for a while, and now we'll have a look at some of the cool stuff you can do before we look at the tooling and how we actually do it, okay? So I want to show you 3 apps that I think serve very different purposes in the augmented reality space. The first is this Porsche Mission E. So Porsche has made a new supercar, which is that one, and they built an app that goes with it. I'll show you why that's cool. AR Mole, we all know whack-a-mole, right? Yeah, in one form or another. And then Amazon. So I'll give you a tour of what they do, those different apps. All right, so. Oh, that was a great background. You can see that all right, can't you? So now this is my phone you're seeing here, okay? So you can see I'll move it around. So I'll make sure I speak in the speaker here. As I move the phone around, you can see that moves with it. So it's already got an idea. So I've opened up the Porsche app. I've cheated because it sometimes takes like 5 minutes to load up. So I press start. And now what it's doing, the phone is scanning my surroundings, as it says. So it's looking for visual clues to where are there some surfaces. And it's just scanning. Oh, there we go. So now it's got a tick. Can you see all the blue dots? Yeah. Keep that in mind because we'll get back to that once we start, looking at the code and stuff. So it knows now there's a surface. I can then put my Porsche here. I'll do that. I'll tap on the screen, and I'll choose a size. That's probably right. I can make it bigger as well. Oh, yeah, okay. Or I can make it huge. Maybe that's a bit big. I'm gonna start that. So now all it's done is that it's found a surface. And it's put I'll try and hold it still because it's a bit unnerving when I, do this. It's found a surface. I've put essentially, a digital asset on the floor. So I can then swivel it, look different sides of it. You can change the color of it. Say here, press on the side. I like red ones. Red ones goes faster. Make it red. Yeah. It's all shiny kind of. Oh, that's cool. For about 5 minutes, you go eh. There are some other things we can do. We can look at, I can press interior down here, and then the door opens. I'll see how far I can get here. But you can actually look at the interior inside the car, which is kind of cool. If the lead was longer, I could go right into the car and have a look at what the seats look like and everything. But you get the idea. This is a marketing app. This is something Porsche has, paid some design firm to say, hey, we want this to work with the new AR platform. And we want it to be something that our customers can download and get a sense for what this car does. That's it, right? That's kind of like, I can press drive, and then it'll just drive in direction. Okay, there we go. You ready? Whee! Here it goes. Obviously, I haven't mapped that part of the room over there, right? So, there you go. Anyway, don't give me a license to this. And it'll just go into things and stuff. There you go. So that's a marketing app. And that's all the purpose that it does, right? It doesn't do anything really that is going to make you more money straight off the bat. Obviously, if you sell a car, that's excellent. But it's a bit of entertainment, right? So then I was talking about whack-a-mole. So that's a similar thing, but now we're into a game. So obviously, gaming is always a big part of this. We'll see. Is it going to turn around? No, it's not. Oh, I've got music. Hey. There we go. Start by touching. So then we just get the moles here, right? And you just got to whack them. Like that's the entire purpose of the game. But it's kind of fun because it doesn't matter where you are. As long as there's a surface that it can recognize and so on, we can keep going, right? Mole here too. I don't know. Again, pretty simple, but it's kind of fun. because it works anyway. You can sit on the train station and you'll sit at people, or whatever you want to do, right? So that's the rest of my presentation. It's just 40 minutes of this. All right, I'll grow out of that as well. There we go. And then the last one, which I think is probably the one that has the biggest potential, is Amazon. And I'll try and explain my vision for how these things could work in the very near term, very near future. So on the Amazon app, up the top right, there's a camera. If I press the camera, it's got things that we would expect. It has, you can scan a barcode. So here we go. You can search on, I don't know, if I take a picture of something, it can try and do image recognition, do stuff. I'm not sure if that works. Maybe it works. There you go. Knows it's Logitech. You can do cool stuff like that. So it's not, no, and it'll find remotes and whatever. It just recognizes probably the name. But what they've got as well is that if you swipe up, okay, hang on. This happens sometimes, and I did test it before. There's supposed to be a lot more here. Let me just, give me 1 second here. I think, see, it says amazon.com.au. It's reverted back to Australian. I'm just going to change it to the American shop, because often these things only work in the American shop for whatever reason. There we go. All right, let's try that again. I'll probably have to restart the app, but let's have a look. So now it's got different color, and it do other things. There we go. So that's kind of like, screw you, Australia, America's better. Okay. To be fair, Amazon only just opened in December in Australia, like proper full Amazon. So we haven't had it for that long. So I can press AR view up the top right there. And obviously I can scan barcodes, whatever, all that stuff. There's a smile code scanner. If you know the sticker you get on the box, you can scan that and it'll tell you what's in the box before you kind of open it. Don't know why you would do that, but you can. Okay, so there you go. I pressed AR view. Okay, what kind of furniture are you into? That sounds wrong. Favorite piece of, sorry? Sectional. Okay. So you use like a bookcase. Is that what you mean? Or a couch? A couch, okay. Let's go with sofas. Close enough? Okay, look at them. Oh, nice. I'm going to choose one that's a little bit smaller because I don't have that much room up here. There we go. Move the phone in any direction. Yes, I am moving it. There we go. It should figure it out. There we go. Oh, almost. So now I can tap on that. As soon as that little marker comes up, I can tap on it. Come on. Tap on the blue circle. Give me a freaking blue circle then. There we go. Oh, that's my couch. Okay. So you see there's a couch, yeah? And then of course, if I really like the couch, I think I'll tap on the couch. It takes a minute. Okay, I can move it, of course. I can move it over there. Now it hasn't scanned the room properly over there, so it looks a bit bigger when it doesn't get small enough, but up here it's pretty much the right size. So I like that one. So I can put another one on there as well, and so on. You get the idea, right? The idea is then I can obviously buy it directly from the app. So as soon as I figure out something that I like, I can buy it. Now why is this a big deal? Anyone want to venture a guess? Yes? So yes, I guess what you're saying is that if you don't have, as an online store, if you don't have the inventory or you don't have a physical shop, then yeah, we can measure it. IKEA also has an app that does something similar, but it only works on iOS with ARKit. And it makes perfect sense to me because what is the #1 cost of retail? Stores and staff, right? Like you pay a senior amount of money to have people sell stuff for you. So if you can go, I'll try and not move it because now it's just getting a bit, if you can go on the IKEA website and I can place, say I have an empty room, I can place all the furniture, chairs, bookshelves, plastic pot plants, whatever it is that IKEA sells. And I make sure that everything looks right because I know that it knows how big my apartment is or my space. So it also knows how big the models are. And as soon as I get to the point where I say, oh, this is good, I can press buy. And it arrives, right? I don't have to go to the store to figure out with a measuring tape, will it fit and have it on a piece of paper and maybe it will fit, maybe if I get the other, and all those questions that come up. You just press buy and it comes, and you don't have to go to the store. Now that works in a perfect world where no one cares about feeling and smelling and stuff, right? Which, I'm not sure I could buy a piece of leather furniture without touching it. So there is obviously challenges. But you could just see the cost saving for companies like IKEA, which is all about cost saving. Like Flatpak there's nothing else more cost saving in my opinion than Flatpak. If they can just eliminate, say, 40% of staff or store visits or stores or whatever it might be, it's a massive, massive saving. So that's why I think those kind of apps are going to be much, much more prevalent. Online retailing kind of thing. Obviously, the challenge is you need really, really good models, 3D models of your products, but that can come over time. And especially often there's CAD drawings of things anyway that you can use. Okay, any questions on that? Yes? These 3 apps, I don't know. I'm not sure. I know the IKEA one, IKEA Place it's called, is available on iOS exclusively. I can't get that on here, otherwise I would have shown it to you. But I'm not sure what the implementation is like. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because we're going to get into that now. So we'll talk a bit about technically how does all this work. So that was our demo. Now there's something called spatial mapping, and because I have background in HoloLens, this is kind of like the holy grail of everything. Is anyone familiar with spatial mapping or 3D object building? Okay. Sorry? Yep. Yeah. Okay. For HoloLens, if you don't have spatial mapping, you don't have a HoloLens. As simple as that. That is the underlying fundamental feature of everything, and it's a bit the same with this as well. So the spatial mapping in this case were all the blue dots that you saw. Right? It's building up an image in real time of what your physical space looks like. Now with HoloLens, you use UV and infrared to kind of measure everything and get a very accurate model. With these, we only have camera and the hardware that you hold in your hand, right? There's nothing extra. So there's an awful lot of really, really difficult mathematics involved that I don't understand and I don't plan on understanding. But you need to be able to track your device position. And it does this by finding anchor points. So these are points like the corner here on the stage, right? It's obvious that there's a color differentiation on the image. It's obvious that there's a straight angle or whatever it is that the algorithm is looking for. And it finds these points, and that's where it finds out where you're moving. So if it knows that I'm holding the device, it knows exactly where I'm holding the device because there's a gyroscope in it. There's an accelerometer, it knows where I'm moving it. You can have that point there in relation to where you're moving the phone. That's relatively simple to do. So as I move around the stage, it'll know if I keep that point within the image, it'll know where that is, and it can kind of map and find it along the way. So you're building spatial awareness, and you're doing it. And this is the big breakthrough, in my opinion, for ARKit and ARCore. Google had something called the Tango project, which some people may have heard of, which was specific hardware that you needed in the phone. So there were Tango-enabled phones. And that kind of got sort of rolled into ARCore, and they removed some of it. There's still parts of the API that says Tango in it. And it's probably a good thing, because we're now making it available to the masses rather than just having specific hardware. We have motion tracking. So because we know where the phone is moving at all times, we can actually track the digital assets as well in real time. We can track the motion of them. So like the car was driving around, and it looked like it was driving on the floor even though I was moving the camera and I wasn't holding it still. So it was tracking not only the space, but also the motion of the digital element. And this is something that it does really, really well. Sorry, I'll get rid of him. Environmental understanding. So it looks for horizontal surfaces. Actually, it's been interesting when we get to the demo. The next version of the ARCore SDK came out about 24 hours ago. I know. And of course, we're going to look at that, yeah? But we now also track vertical planes, not just horizontal, which is kind of cool. So they are expanding it as we go along. But essentially, it's just looking for flat surfaces. So do desks, floors, those sort of things, your kitchen bench tops. And they're called planes. It's looking for planes to place things on. One of the things that I didn't expect this to do is light estimation. So it actually can figure out how much light is in the room dynamically in real time and apply that in the API. So it's up to you, obviously, to change the look of your digital asset. It's not going to do that for you. But you have that information, so you can change it and have relatively real shading or shadows and lighting on your objects, so that it matches whatever the environment is, which is pretty neat. It's not that easy to do. All right, so those are kind of the three main things that ARCore does. So it's got your motion tracking, it's got the environmental understanding of the light estimation, and of course the spatial mapping that comes out of all that. Any questions on that? That makes sense? Because those are the kind of the things you need to know in order to understand what ARCore is doing. All right. Okay, so talking about development platforms. Depending on what your tool of choice is, you can use Android Studio. So if you are an Android developer and you like Java, Android Studio supports it fully. You can use Unreal Engine, which is usually if you like C++ and Paint. I did a Pluralsight course on digital realities, and I had a look at Unreal Engine, and I figured out how to use it in like, hey, I built a symbol thing, but wow, it was just so far out of my comfort zone. But if you are into C++, that is probably the choice that you want. It's good for C++ scripting. Unity, which is the majority of these things are built in. We'll get back to Unity. And web. There is a web implementation of ARCore, which is in like a beta stage. But there's documentation on it. You can go and have a look at it. Most of it is revolving around WebVR and the A-Frame framework. If anyone has ever used A-Frame, this is probably the tool to use for WebVR. It's Mozilla's framework that they built, so you don't have to handle any of the manual input. But we're going to be using Unity today for these kind of little examples I'm going to show you. So our toolchain is an Android SDK version 7 or higher. Obviously, you can just download that. That's free. Unity. Has anyone here used Unity? Like each day? Oh, you do? Okay. So you are aware of the versioning hell right now? Yeah? There's a few people smiling. Yes, you are. So right now, Unity is trying to be all things to all people. So you use it for developing HoloLens app. You use it for developing mixed reality apps, which is Microsoft's headset. You use it for ARCore, ARKit. You use it for your normal games you would use, like all of this. So there are, I don't know how many versions of Unity there are that are being supported right now, but the latest one I think is 2018.1, 0.2 something. I can't remember. They change all the time. Don't use that one because it will not work. Sorry, the SDK, the samples, and the scripts there will not work, so you have to update them manually. I'm sure that's going to be changed very soon, but right now, that's the version. That's the only version I can get it to work with. The SDK for Unity is now version 1.2, not 1.1. Luckily, I checked that this morning, that suddenly there was a new version, and you need a device. There is no emulator as such for this. You do need a device that will support it, and it makes it a lot more fun as well. The SDK is open source for Unity, I should say, the SDK for Unity, and it's on GitHub. That's also where you get it as a Unity package you can install. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Any questions? All right, so you understand everything. Very good. Okay, so now we're going to try this together. And I should preface this saying, this is early days of this technology, and I went through this morning, the demos, and Unity froze on me twice. So bear with me, okay? We'll get there. So does this not look familiar? Has anyone never ever seen this before? A couple of people, okay. It is a little bit scary, to be honest, because there's so much you can do in Unity. And especially if you start clicking on things, this thing over here just keeps pumping out things and values you can change. Every time you click on something different, there's different values there. And it just becomes overwhelming. My best advice that I found works is just forget about it all and just focus on the bits you do need. And if something doesn't work, you got to figure out which other bit you need. Right? If you try and understand all of it all the time, you're just going to go mad. So this is a pretty standard starting point for Unity. I have done one thing because I know you don't want to sit there and look at it. Under assets here, you can import your packages, your custom package. And in here, well, I've got the Unity SDK for ARCore, which I put somewhere. Or I think I put it in here. Yeah, there it is. So you would import that. We can open it, we just want to import it. And that has all of the different things that you need. So it's all your scripts, all your samples, all your shaders, all your materials, and all that stuff. And of course, that's going to take 100 years now to do. Okay. And I can't cancel it. Why is it that you can never cancel on cancel button? So I just did it now. Have you ever done that? You just click cancel and nothing happens? It's just someone just sitting there going. So in this SDK, there's all of these assets down here. So this Google ARCore here, whoops, that is what I just imported, along with the Play Service Resolver, which we're not going to look at, and the plugins as well. So in Google ARCore, in here there's something called prefabs, and there's an ARCore device. And what that does, and I apologize for the font size, I cannot make it any bigger because Unity. That ARCore device is a prefab, so that's a pre-made component that includes more than one thing usually. And you can do that so you can it's kind of like your class library. So you can move things around and use them in other projects and between projects. But if I add that to here, ARCore device, you can see it has a camera, first person camera, and that has a couple of scripts here. Tracked pose, whoops, drive, stop it. And ARCore background renderer. So, and we'll try to see if this neat thing will work. I can now press play up here. I've just added that. All I've done is I've added that one thing, right? The ARCore thing. If you press play now, it'll compile it and run it in Unity. So you don't have to go and deploy it to a device and everything. But the cool thing is that you can use this ARCore preview thing, which we'll start up here in a minute. Maybe. Come on. Instant preview is what it's called. I just got to press a button here in a minute. There we go. Okay. And now you can see my camera through Unity. And that makes your development cycle a hell of a lot quicker. So that's just a little pro tip, so you don't have to deploy it to the device every time to try and test it. Another pro tip is that this will probably break on you. It just ends up, suddenly it'll just go slow as anything. But all we've done now is just added this ARCore camera. All we're doing is now showing the camera. That's it. But it's enabled us to track motion. Okay, so I'll just press on that again to get that go away. Come on. Oh, another cool thing is obviously you can see in real time where I'm moving the camera. Right, so it's got full idea of the motion, saying the gyroscope and all the tracking of it. So we'll just press play up there. There we go. So now I've stopped it again. Okay, so if we want to now doing a bit more ARCore-ish stuff. All of the scripts we need, so these are kind of like the API. In Unity, you use scripts for everything. So you attach scripts to your objects. You add scripts to your folders, like anything. There's scripts everywhere, and it can get a little bit confusing. But in here under scripts, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And this is all the things that you get as part of the SDK. These are all the things that Google has made for us, so we don't have to worry about them, which is really cool. And obviously, I'm not going to go through a code frenzy here today, but just know that they are there. So what we can do is that we can create something here. We'll call this another cube here. So I'm just creating a rudimentary 3D object, a cube, and we'll call this points or something. We want to show the points on the screen. And I want to have a new material, so I want to create a material. So under assets here, just go in here, materials. Well, actually, I already created it, but you can create new materials just by going create material. And then that's where you import your textures and your shaders and your renderers and all that stuff, or you can, to create, whatever it might be. If you want a grassy lawn, or if you want Mars surface, or whatever it might be. But that's where you need your 3D modeler. So I made this very, very, very cool material here. I think you'll like it. I can just put it up here on there. Yellow. I know. That is the extent of my design skills. And this shader is now called in the point cloud here. Let me just find the right one. Whoops. All right. Remember what I'm doing. Oops, sorry. Yep. Okay. So, forgot half of what I was doing. Oh yeah. So in this, we want to add a point cloud visualizer. So we want to show what the point cloud. So the point cloud is all of the different points that the ARCore device is seeing, and there's a lot. And this is what it uses to figure out where everything is, where all the planes, where all the different anchor points. So now we've got the script here, and is that going to work? I'm missing something. I can't remember. We'll just see here if that works. So we press play again. Yeah, now doing this. See the camera? I don't know why it does that. So I have to move my camera and it's really slow, but you can see all the yellow dots. Can you just see that? Yeah? So it's very slow right now. This is what happens. I'm not sure at what point in the process that happens. It just started doing that with one of the latest versions. It's a little bit hard to see because of the brown floor, but there are a ton of yellow dots. And those yellow dots are points that it's using to figure out where is the environmental space. And there's a similar script you can attach that will show you where all the planes are, or the surfaces, and so on. But we'll just kill that because that's just annoying to look at. Now, a couple of the samples that come with it is that we can go in here. There's one called Hello AR. We'll just save our scene. And this now has a plane generator, and it has the point cloud as well. And I'll show you on this because it doesn't run very well through this device. I installed it on the device before, so I kind of cheated a bit, but I'll show you what it does. And this, oh, right, okay. The beauty of having 100 different things running. Okay. So, there you go. Okay. Hey, now you can see my phone again. So in here we've got this plane finder. So made with Unity, as you always get. Okay, so here's the room, right? So now you can see all the blue dots again, and now it shows the grid as well. So that's the plane finder script. You get all this for free. You just kind of attach it to the camera of the AR camera. And now what I can do is I can touch the screen. So the green and red, I think from memory is, hey, I know this is a surface. I'm not sure this is a surface, or other way around. But I can touch the screen, and now I can start setting little Android robots, just with a tap, right? So again, it's a bit rudimentary, but it's kind of funny, because I can then go down here, and we can look at them, just as if they were there, right? So that comes for free out of the box. I'll just try and see if I can try and show the other one. Does it make sense? So my point here is that, when you download the SDK for ARCore, there's a lot of documentation from Google that works quite well. The best thing is just play around with it. Try and attach all the different scripts and press all the buttons and see what happens. But it's all there and it's free and it's really easy to get started. It's not as difficult as you might think because all of the hard lifting, which is all the input, all the points clouds and all the different points, all that is just coming for free. You can inquire, you can query it if you want to know more about it, programmatically. There's all the APIs are there to get an array of all the different vector points and all that in 3D space. So you can use it if you want to, but you don't have to. You can also just have the abstraction that says, hey, just show me where the plane is, and I can add stuff to it. So if you want to get started with this, the main hurdle usually is finding a device that will support it. That's the main thing. Get rid of him. All right. So I'll just try this other one, which I thought was computer vision, because it doesn't quite give you an idea of just what it's seeing, like what is the device actually seeing in this case. So we'll just go into here. It's a computer vision scene. Now this one I am going to run through the phone. So if I press play on this, it just connects to the phone. Yep. So this is creating shapes from the points cloud. So all the different points it's seeing. And again, this is on the side. And I don't know why it does this. But here's my computer. So it's even, that's Unity. It's even recognizing objects on Unity, which is kind of cool, right? Even though it's a flat screen. Oh, did I kill it? There we go again. Here's the, it just goes really slow. All right, and even got the keys to a certain extent. Because the keys, the letters are white. Or the bottle's over there, or you get the idea that it's pretty damn accurate in what it represents with these points clouds. And then it creates almost like a 3D image from that, or at least a spatial mapping that you can then use to track motion for your digital assets. Anyway, enough of that. Okay. Whee. Cool. Any questions? Yes.
You just got the camera before. It was like a cube around the camera. What does that cube represent?
Oh, the cube before that I put on the camera. It wasn't really on the camera once you started running the program. So at runtime, that cube became one of the little dots that you saw. So it didn't, it looked, I guess it looked like the camera was inside the cube. Yeah. But yeah, we just placed it somewhere. We just need a reference point for that object. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Do they support like persistence yet? So like come back to a space and want to calculate.
So do they, as in does the framework support persistence?
Yeah, can you like say like, hey, I want to do that here and then back to this location?
Not really. Like there's no, you have to manage that. If you want to, like, because you have, they call it the points cloud, which I think is a bit silly name, but I don't know what else to call it. But you can certainly store that. Store it on disk, or you can load it up again. It's just vector points, just 3D points. That's all it is. There was another one there, yeah. In Unity, Web VR, I wouldn't do Web VR in Unity. I would use A-Frame, yeah, definitely. Unity is really good for a lot of things, but I don't think web is one of them. Even ARKit for iOS is good on Unity. Obviously, Apple hates everybody else, so they want you to use their tooling, but you can use Unity as well. Yes?
It seems like the lack of a laser is like a detriment. Do you think they want to put a laser in a camera or a phone just to
So you want a laser on the phone? So you're talking about like a distance measure for lasering, or?
Yeah, because it feels like if all the math is done from the camera, it seems like some of that would be easier if it just wasn't
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, why don't we have hardware that makes this easier? This is kind of what Project Tango was hardware that would make this much, much more accurate. One of the things with this that I kind of have glazed over is that it's not that accurate. It's actually, while I'm talking, I'll give you an example here. The hardware that was in Tango was really, really cool. It was really, really well done, but it was very expensive, and it was only in a few devices, so it never really took off. But if we go back to the Amazon app here, and I'll choose something smaller than a couch. I think there's a lava lamp from memory. Who doesn't like a good lava lamp? I know. Oh, conference Wi-Fi. Not much happening. Come on. Oh, let's get a good lamp. There we go. Oh, look at that. Lava lamp. Okay. So hopefully I can get a surface here maybe. Just see. You can still see it? Yeah. So if I place it there, go around the, see my point? That particular feature there, because now you lose confidence in the illusion, right? The illusion is broken now because you can see it. That's called occlusion in these kind of 3D terms. Occlusion, the only device that I know works really well on is the HoloLens because it builds up such a good model. The HoloLens would map this, the microphone stand to some detail. It's not, we're not talking brain surgery detail with the HoloLens, but it's really good, okay? And this just doesn't do it. And you can see if I move this here, oh, that's actually pretty stable now, but like side to side, it is going to float a bit. Right, so we're still a fair way off using just the camera, but it's damn good. It's really, really well done as it is. But we need to make sure that we are okay with those concessions if we want to use it. And obviously Amazon don't care too much. Like people go, oh, it's still cool because I can still see my couch in that corner. It might sit half in the wall, but I can just kind of move it and that's okay. But if we were talking about $1 million installation of some sort of pharmaceutical equipment, well, maybe your margin of tolerance for margin of error is not that high. So it all depends. That was a really long answer to that question about lasers. Anyone else? Yes. Sure. On ARCore specifically? So are there good learning sources of ARCore? It's funny, I'm actually just talking to my Pluralsight editor, sits there, about doing an ARCore course, but there aren't any on Pluralsight that I know of. The best I've found are Google's documentation, which is still not a lot. And if you have patience, there are people that produce YouTube videos at very varying qualities, but there are bits in each that are like, oh, that's a good point. Oh, that's really cool. Just like, for example, when you hook this up and you use it through Unity, how do you tap the screen? Because the screen goes into this AR preview mode. So how do you tap the screen? And this guy had some idea how to do that and stuff. So you can find nuggets here and there, but it's still early days. We're not talking C# levels kind of documentation, unfortunately. How much time we got? We've still got 13 minutes. Okay, no more question? Yes, sir? Clothing stores that use it, not that I know of. I'm sure that will come, I would imagine. It's tricky though because you gotta, where do you point it at yourself kind of thing. That's probably the hardest. But yeah, I'm sure that's something that would come because that makes sense, especially online. Yeah. Maybe you can scan yourself and put yourself over there and then, no, I don't know. All right. So that's about all the code I wanted to show you. I wasn't going to go too much into code because it gets boring really quickly, especially if you haven't seen Unity before. And it changes a lot all the time. So it changes in a couple of weeks when you go look at it. It's probably changed anyway. So like when? And I mean when as in when should you use it? And this is, I've been a bit preachy about this with HoloLens as well. It's really, really tempting to do this shiny button exercise and go, hey, look how cool it is. I can put, the Porsche or whatever it is over here. And then you use it for 5 minutes and you forget about it. And then it becomes a fad and no one cares. Instead, I always want to try and find out, hey, how can I, essentially make more money for you with this? Just like Amazon goes, hey, we use this because we'll sell more products. Like once you put the couch there, you're more likely to buy it than if you didn't. And I'd much rather find those solutions to these, to using this technology. This whole idea of, having a solution looking for a problem, that kind of irks me a bit. But so if you are going to go into this, make sure you think a lot about why you're doing it, and rather than just what you want it to do, because it'll make it better eventually. Yeah, and it can genuinely improve user experience, as you saw. Like it's fun. Like suddenly, buying a couch is more fun than if you didn't have it. Any other questions? Stove?
Have you seen anything that constitutes a killer app?
Have I seen a killer app for AR? That's a really good question. To me, Amazon's Edition is a killer app. I don't think we're going to look and say, oh, we must build an AR app. I don't think that's the point. The point is we want to build something that uses AR as well. It's much more of an addition because people are going to have the phone anyway. They're going to open up the Amazon app anyway. So if you can add, the length that they're using, the time-wise, how long is the session they're using it, I think that's much more important than having a killer app. Of course, to build a platform, you need a killer app. Just like on HoloLens, if you ever try it, go and play Robo-Raid if you only got a little bit of time. If you've got a lot of time, go and play Fragments, because those two are probably the best experiences for HoloLens. And I mean a lot of time, I mean like a couple of hours to play Fragments. All right. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. That's me. I talk a lot about these things, Microsoft things, they give me stickers. Has anyone ever used Windows Phone? Like 3 people. Okay, those are the people that own up to it. Yeah, I had all the Windows phones in Australia. I write a lot on my blog and other places. That should have been out yesterday, my HoloLens book for Sync Fusion, but it wasn't, so hopefully it might be there now or tomorrow. It's very, very, very close. So if you want to know more about developing HoloLens, that's free. You can just go download it from Sync Fusion. I do have that course on HoloLens stuff. I don't have an AR course, unfortunately, yet. But in the next few months, hopefully that could be something that's coming. I certainly think that's really cool. The problem with doing courses on this is that you spend 3 months doing it, and then everything changes anyway. So you got to find that sweet spot of making sure it lasts for a while. On that, thank you. Oh yeah, and if you don't put a green card in the box, your mum doesn't love you. I've heard that. Thanks, guys.